Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping straight into one of the most ancient, mind-bending, and profoundly deep narratives in all of human history, the incredible story of Job. This is a narrative that has literally captivated people for centuries. And it's not just because of the sheer drama of it all, but because it tackles something every single one of us has to face at some point: suffering. Today, we're going to trace the arc of a man who experienced unimaginable resilience. It's a story about the absolute breaking point of the human spirit and what actually happens when you are pushed way, way beyond it.
So let me hit you with a question right out of the gate to set the stage for all of this. If absolutely everything was taken from you, would your faith still remain? Seriously, think about that. This isn't just some fun hypothetical thought experiment. It is the entire anchor of the text we're digging into today. It forces us to ask whether our devotion and our beliefs are really just transactions. Like, do we only hold on to our faith when things are going great? What actually happens when the very foundation of your life completely crumbles beneath your feet? Keep that question squarely in your mind, because it's the lens through which we have to view every single thing that happens to Job.
All right, let's get into it with Section 1, Job's life of pure righteousness and immense wealth. To really grasp the gravity of this story, you have to picture Job's life before the tragedy. It was essentially perfect. We're talking about a highly righteous, God-fearing man whose whole reputation was built on strictly avoiding evil. And his prosperity? It was off the charts. We aren't just talking about a guy making a comfortable living. We're talking about vast, elite-level wealth. He owned massive herds of sheep, camels, and oxen. On top of that, he was the father to this huge, beautiful family, 7 sons and 3 daughters. He had incredible earthly wealth, a thriving family, and a totally spotless moral record. He was known for constantly praying for his family's well-being. The guy literally had it all.
Which brings us to Section 2, Satan's challenge and the ultimate test of conditional faith.
So here is where the floor completely drops out. The inciting incident of this entire narrative is a bold challenge. Satan goes to God and basically claims, look, Job only serves you because of the blessings. Take away the rewards and I guarantee his faith will vanish. So a test is permitted, and suddenly everything changes in this rapid, devastating sequence of absolute tragedies. In the first hour, Job's entire property and all of that livestock are just wiped out, destroyed. In the second hour, his servants are killed in sudden attacks, and then the third hour brings the most unbearable blow imaginable. All 10 of his children die together in a freak, terrible accident. In a flash, literally in a single afternoon, a wealthy, happy man is completely stripped of his livelihood, his household, and his beloved family.
Now, human instinct in a moment like this would absolutely scream for anger, right? Or vengeance, or just complete and total despair. But Job's immediate reaction? It's staggering. He says, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Despite the absolute gut-wrenching devastation of losing everything in the blink of an eye, he doesn't blame God. His reaction is this raw display of unwavering faith. He recognizes that all he had was a gift to begin with. So that whole idea of conditional faith that Satan challenged him with, Job completely shatters it right there on the spot.
But hold on, because the test is far from over. Now we descend into a very physical abyss. The psychological trauma he's already facing gets compounded by horrifying physical agony. Job's body breaks out in severe, agonizing boils from his head all the way down to his toes. He's living in constant, unending physical pain. It actually gets so unbearable that his own wife, who is obviously witnessing all this suffering, begs him to just abandon God, give it up. Yet even in this incredibly dark abyss of physical and emotional torment, Job steadfastly refuses to commit a sin against God or blame him for the suffering. His resilience just holds firm.
Moving right into Section 3, the ideological conflict. This is where the unbearable grief is met with the misplaced blame of his friends. So the physical pain is one thing, but now Job has to deal with this intense ideological clash with his 3 closest friends. You see, his friends operate on this massive, totally mistaken assumption based on a very rigid worldview. Bad things only happen to bad people. It's simple math to them. They figure because Job is suffering so terribly, he absolutely must have committed some massive, hidden sin to deserve such a severe punishment. But Job isn't having any of it. He completely refuses to accept their false narrative because he knows his record is clean. He maintains his absolute innocence. He knows he's strictly avoided evil. So instead of accepting his friend's flawed transactional logic, Job turns his focus upward. He demands an audience with God to know the actual reason.
And that brings us to Section 4, the divine response, the moment we've been building up to.
After all the suffering and all that terrible advice from his friends, God finally speaks directly to Job. But here's the catch. He doesn't give Job a neat, direct, bullet point explanation for the mechanics of his suffering. He doesn't even bring up Satan's challenge. Instead, God completely shifts the perspective. He reveals his immense power, his infinite wisdom, and the unsearchable mysteries of creation. He basically zooms way out and points to the unfathomable complexity of the universe, things that are just so far beyond human comprehension. He illustrates that human logic, especially that rigid, transactional logic of Job's friends, is completely inadequate when trying to grasp the grand design of the divine.
Encountering this completely floors Job, leading to a profound realization. He says, "I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you." That direct encounter shifts absolutely everything for him. He is brought to a place of deep, newfound humility. He openly acknowledges his extremely limited human understanding. He realizes that demanding a simple, logical explanation for the vast complexities of the universe was a reflection of his own limitations. He doesn't even need the why anymore, because he has directly experienced the absolute awe of the divine presence. He finally just accepts his place within the vast mystery of creation.
Wrapping up the narrative with Section 5, Humility and the Ultimate Restoration.
So once Job accepts his limited understanding and truly surrenders to the mystery of God's wisdom, his circumstances radically change. As we see detailed in chapter 42, God completely restores Job's situation, and then some. His wealth and property aren't just given back. They're increased to even more than he had before the tragedies began. It's a double blessing. He is blessed with a new family, new children. And on top of all that, he's granted a remarkably long life, giving him the immense joy of seeing his children, his grandchildren, and his future generations. The narrative concludes by showing us that while the test was indescribably severe, the ultimate resolution was this massive, enduring blessing of prosperity and longevity.
So to conclude this overview, I want to leave you with a final, really powerful question. When our understanding is totally limited, can our faith remain unwavering? The story of Job doesn't promise that righteous people will never suffer. That's not the point. But it brilliantly illustrates that human logic simply cannot always explain the mysteries of the universe. Job's resilience wasn't based on having all the answers nicely laid out for him. It was based on an unshakable trust, right in the face of the totally unknown. So take this thought with you today. When life strips away the predictable and you're left in the dark without an explanation, how will you respond? Thank you so much for walking through this incredible text with me in today's Explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next one.